This is what you do when you've just found that statement handbag on eBay and you want to build an entire wardrobe around it. You start selling to keep buying. Yep, on eBay. Over that all-black everything phase? List it and buy all the color. Feeling more vintage than ever? It's out with the new and in with the pre-loved. Next thing you know, you've refreshed your wardrobe basically without spending a dime. Yeah, eBay, the place to buy and sell new, pre-loved, vintage, and rare fashion.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least that was the plan. Except now the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want your connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
Welcome to My Weekly Mixtape, a podcast that takes the classic mixtape approach to building a modern playlist. I'm your host, Brian Colburn. Joining me tonight from the Fawkes and Friends podcast is Ed Cunard, who you may recall was my guest all the way back on episode 3, the Ultimate Songs of 1993 playlist. Ed, welcome back, my friend.
Brian, it's so good to see and hear you quasi in person over the internet again.
Well, tonight we are talking about a topic that I'm going to guess is near and dear to you, as your former podcast, The Greatest Song Ever Sung Poorly, was a dedication to the art of karaoke, and thus a topic that I'm safely assuming you're comfortable crafting a mixtape for?
I think I have the requisite CV to be a valued guest on this one. I might be living in the punk rock world now, but karaoke is and always will be my first love.
Amen. So let's talk karaoke PSAs and cliches. What were you looking to bring to the table for this side of the coin?
Well, Brian, you tend to be overall a little bit more positive than I am when it comes to things sometimes. I can be harshly critical, but with karaoke, I am not. I love every performance, whether it's good or bad, whether it's a song I like or a song I hate. Now, that said, to talk about the cliches, the things you see at karaoke all the time and things that, might not go over so well, I just kind of brought this is some advice on if you want your karaoke night to go well. It's no condemnation of these songs or these singers, but there are things that one should probably keep in their mind before they're starting their karaoke journey for the evening.
And I think that's the same approach I took, because some of the songs that made my cliches list are songs I absolutely genuinely love, and I love seeing them performed. And it's not a one-size-fits-all approach here. Some of these things work well in one room and not in the other. So it's kind of just guidelines, if you will, from somebody who's done karaoke many and many a times. Now, on the other side of that coin, Ed, we have home run songs. What was your mindset there?
Well, Brian, I was trying to think because, karaoke is a regional thing. Karaoke, and when I say regional, it could be the actual geographic region, like a state or a territory. It could also be like based on the age range of the people who are in that bar. And so the way I figured it would make the most sense is, since I'm here with you and we are both men of a certain age, I am treating this like we are going to a bar that is highly populated by late Gen X, early millennials. So not like the 21-year-old crowd, not the 70-year-old crowd. And songs that I think would go over well that don't get done a lot, but are still not like super obscure that no one knows what they are.
All right. That's pretty much the approach I took as well. And then I also thought about songs that invite the crowd to join in, because karaoke, while it feels like you're up there, quote unquote, performing, The audience is just as much a part of the vibe as the person on stage. So the songs I picked for that side of the spectrum are the ones that really invite everybody to sing along with you, no matter what genre of music we're talking about.
I think that's a really good strategy.
Well, let's get down to business. Tonight, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Ed and I will be curating the ultimate Karaoke 101, PSAs, Clichés, and Home Runs mixtape, and we'll use the old cassette deck approach. Ed, as my special guest, will begin side A with his first song choice, and then I'll add a song that I feel best follows up that choice. We'll then flip-flop choosing songs until we've mapped out 10 songs for side A. We'll then give our mixtape a proverbial flip, and we'll map out side B, only this time I'll kick things off with Ed choosing second. Our overall goal for the episode is to craft the best Karaoke 101 mixtape possible, with only 10 songs for each of our dual topics. At the end of the show, you can take our conversation to the next level by visiting the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com to give our final mixtape a listen via the embedded playlist. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. There you can enjoy ad-free episodes of the show, become a future guest, and so much more. And a few of the Patreon mixtapers chimed in with the songs they would use to kick off our Karaoke 101 mixtape, and I want to give a few quick shout-outs. Tom Hutchinson chimed in with Tequila for his karaoke cliché, saying he's seen it performed more than any other song. And he also chimed in with Build Me Up Buttercup for a karaoke home run. Philip Bergman chimed in saying he used to work at a bar restaurant that had karaoke twice a week, so this will be cringe for him, but La Bamba is still a jam despite being butchered by so many drunks. He then proceeded to ask if I was recording the episode with Ed. So Ed, your reputation precedes you, my friend. Seeker chimed in saying he's not much of a karaoke singer, but when he does, he's most comfortable with Gold by Spandau Ballet, and he's not even sure if it's cliché or not, but it's his personal home run. And finally, Jen Fink chimed in with Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive, saying if you can get someone that could really sing, it's a home run. And I'll also say if you can get somebody who's maybe not the best singer, you could pivot from that and use Cake's version and do it a little bit more monotone and kind of bring the key down a little bit. So it's something that anybody could really pull out a good one. So I like that pick a lot. I might be revisiting that one when we get to the home runs side of the mixtape. But once again, if you want to chime in for future My Weekly Mixtape episodes, please become a member of the Mixtaper family at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape.
With Amex Platinum, you can really be in the now. Access to Resi Priority Notify. Yes. 4 p.m. checkout with fine hotels and resorts booked through Amex Travel.
We needed this.
And dedicated card member entrances at select events.
Let's go!
Means you can focus on the present moment. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex. Card member entrance access not limited to Amex Platinum Card.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you ever thought about something new you'd love to learn? As adults, it's easy to get caught up in the daily grind, and sometimes we forget to make time for new experiences. Remember when we were kids and learning was part of everyday life? Now it feels like we're always in work mode. But what if we could tap into that curiosity again? Whether it's learning how to garden, picking up a new language, or finally beating your friend in your fantasy football league, there's so much out there to explore. Therapy can help you reconnect with that childlike sense of wonder. I know for me, therapy has been a great way to learn about myself, set healthy boundaries, and develop positive habits. It's not just for times of crisis. It's about growing and becoming the best version of yourself. I know I am more in tune with both my positive self, which I highlight, and my negative self, which I'm working to minimize since I began working with my BetterHelp therapist. If you've been thinking about starting therapy, BetterHelp is a great option. It's fully online, so it's convenient, and it fits around your schedule. You'll fill out a quick questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist. And if it's not the right fit, You can switch at any time with no extra charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Pantheon today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/Pantheon.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. With over 122 million parts, you can make sure your number one ride or die stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.
So, Ed, with that musical food for thought out in the atmosphere, I'm officially pressing the record button on our mixtape and handing the karaoke mic over to you. Why don't you dive into the first PSA and cliché for side A, okay?
Thanks, Brian. I'm calling this one, If You Don't Worry, Someone Else Will. And this song is ubiquitous in karaoke bars. It is the closest thing on this list to one that I would prefer personally not to hear, just because of how often I have heard it. It's a duet. It's a little country, sort of. And it is Picture by Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is one that definitely has become a mainstay for a guy and a girl to go up and do it together. Because honestly, if you think about it, how many of those type of songs do you have from the late 90s on? Maybe Evanescence, Bring Me to Life.
Currently, the runner-up for this, and I know this is not going to step on our toes later, so I don't mind mentioning it. The new Picture is Shallow by Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. That's the new version of that. But we are men of a certain age, and I figured that one would resonate with you and maybe inspire a choice.
Yeah, so, coming out of Picture by Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow. Okay, you went with If You Don't Worry, Someone Else Will. Okay, so for my first PSA and cliché, I think I'm going to go with the Yes, We Know category, and that would be Starland Vocal Band's Afternoon Delight. Because yes, I've seen Anchorman. For my fellow movie fans out there and for my TV fans out there, yes, I've seen Arrested Development. A lot of people have. So the ironic nature of doing it just to try to out comedy some of the greats that were in both that movie and that TV show, I think sometimes falls flatter than a couple of beers might indicate.
Yeah. In all fairness, I do love that as a song.
Oh, of course. It's a great tune.
Yeah, it's a great tune. But no, you're right. I mean, no one is singing it because they're a very, very big fan of the Starlight Vocal Band. Like, let's be honest. Following that, that kind of leads into my next choice. So that's good synchronicity. My next category is, oh, you changed the words. And this one is also getting, I believe, a movie or TV reference, although the source escapes me right now. But that is Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler. Because I promise you, it's not a radio edit. That word is just not actually in the song, and you're putting it in there.
I think I know exactly where that started. The Dan Band, when they did their cover laced with profanity, anytime someone goes up there, they try to do that version, again, to kind of imitate the comedy from the Dan Band's version.
And my favorite thing about that song, though, is it wasn't like even originally written for her. It was supposed to be in like a vampire musical as a duet. It was written by Jim Steinman, right?
Yes. Yeah. And you get that like Bat Out of Hell Meatloaf vibe from it. He was very theatrical. It feels like you're hearing a rock musical with every one of his songs, but it's done so seamlessly and so effortlessly. He's one of the great songwriters. Okay. So you changed the words, huh? I'm going to go with the same thought process for my song choice, but add a little bit of a spin to it. And this is the Read the Room category. Now, while Total Eclipse of the Heart, people throw F-bombs, and it's perfectly fine. If it's 11 p.m. on a Saturday night and you want to drop a bunch of F-bombs into a song, whether they have them or not, great. Enjoy it. Have fun. However, if it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon at an outdoor event that has families walking around, maybe picking up something like Tenacious D's Effort Gently, Adam Sandler's At a Medium Pace, or my pick, Gary Lee and Showdown's The Rodeo Song might not be the best decision. So if there are kids and families still in the establishment, just read the room and save it till later. We don't need little Billy going to kindergarten on Monday morning singing, "Well, here comes Johnny." Yeah, we don't need that. Just read the room and don't make it awkward for the poor karaoke DJ that's got to skip over your pick because he's reading the room and seeing that would not be the appropriate time to do it.
My only caveat with that, and I have seen this, is if it's 11 p.m. and it's a bar and there's a kid there, you know what? Do it, because those parents are very bad parents having their child at a bar at 11 p.m. And that's not going to be the worst thing that kid hears that day.
I was about to say, of course, 100%. I'm just talking about like if there's a karaoke booth at the town fair, yeah, that might not be the best song choice.
Not ideal, no. Now, a lot of these have been about, the room and doing things with a song and things like that. I want to change it to actual proficiency for this one, if you wouldn't mind. Sure. I'm calling this, How Hard Can Hip Hop Be? Now, this is one of my personal karaoke peccadillos, if you will. I started doing karaoke by doing hip hop, actually. It took me a long time to be able to hit a note, and it's questionable whether I do or not now. But there are people who think that rapping is just talking over a beat, and you need a much better developed sense of rhythm than just talking over a beat to rap in general or at karaoke. And so my pick for that is the one that I have seen people get tripped up on the most, because they're like, of course I know this song. And they start doing it and they're like, oh, wow, no, this is harder than I thought. And that song is Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Ah, yes.
My personal advice for doing hip hop at karaoke is do not do a hip hop song that you need to look at a screen for. If you need to look at the screen, you shouldn't do it.
Crawl before you walk. For this category, if I was picking a song, the first one that comes to mind is Eminem's Godzilla with Juice WRLD. Because sure, people on TikTok have nailed it impressively, like mind-blowing. But if you're a 6-pack deep and you've never gone up to a karaoke mic before, it's probably a cold, hard reality that you're not going to spit fire like Eminem. And I don't know, maybe start with like an Ice Ice Baby and work your way up to the GOAT, because even the rhythmic nature that you talked about with Sir Mix-a-Lot, one of my favorite hip hop songs to do when I go to karaoke is Naughty by Nature's OPP. The reason I love doing that song is because it involves the room as much as possible. You're down with OPP?
Yeah, you know me.
There you go. And that's what you bring to that atmosphere. It took me years of listening and rapping along with that song to know that I could walk up on stage without Tretch's vocal track and be able to deliver it. And that's what I love about that song is the rhythmic delivery, the flow, if you will, of how the words come out. If you know a song really well, hip hop at karaoke could be some of the greatest songs of the night. However, you lose that rhythm. Oh, good God.
Now, doing karaoke with Brian Colburn is now higher on my bucket list than it was before, because I'm impressed that you can do Tretch, because that man will double and triple on a beat, and that will trip people up. So I'm going to have to come out to your state, and we're going to have to go out some night.
Oh, dude, we're going to have to. My old cover band used to do OPP as well. The only time I ever tripped up on the song, when our drummer was just feeling the room a little too much, and instead of it being bump a bump 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 a bump a bump, it was more bump a bump 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 a bump a bump. Like I couldn't keep up with the flow at that pace, and I totally lost the song that night. But other times, at the correct speed, I could nail that one. Anyway,
at a medium pace.
There you go. Touche. Well, I'm going to follow up How Hard Could Rap Be with the ever so popular How Hard Could Metal Be category. And for this one, I'll just go with something, because you can go with any heavy song here. So just for lack of an argument, a song that most people would be familiar with when you talk about a metal song. Let's just go with Metallica's Enter Sandman for this one. This is the song that I've actually seen get butchered more times than not. And it's not for the fact that people don't get the melody and rhythm and vocal lines of the song. It's that they think they need to get up there and cup their hand over the microphone and scream as loud as they can into the literal ball of the mic to the point where it's distorting out of the speakers and people in the karaoke bar are covering their ears. If you can't scream musically, don't scream the song, just sing it. And people will get into it and sing along with you, and that'll bring that heft. But if you're just going to go up there and yell and kind of miss the melody of the song, as funny as it might seem, Enter Sandman is 5 minutes long. The joke wears thin very quickly. So that's like my PSA for that one.
And metal singing is actually like its own talent. Can I give a little shout out to a bar in Cincinnati that I love and adore?
Sure.
Go to Mixwell's in the north side of Cincinnati if you want to do like punk rock or heavy metal to have a really appreciative crowd for that. My friend Amber, she's in a metal band. The night that I met her, she actually did that like legitimate metal growl at this place. Totally appropriate for the place. And also I was like, I don't understand how you physically make that noise. I'm not going to be able to learn to make that noise. I'm not going to try. But I was so impressed. And like, that's a place where stuff like that would go over really well. But also, she's not just doing a scream. Like, she's doing the actual metal sing noise thing with her throat. Like, I don't understand how it's humanly possible to do, but
100%.
She gets it. And I mean, there's a reason that she fronts a metal band called Vile Sanctum. That's why, because she can do that. I cannot, and I don't front any bands, and there's a reason for that as well.
And the other part of that is, believe it or not, if you're yelling loudly into the mic, you could conceivably blow this karaoke DJ's speakers, blow a cone. Sometimes if he's got the level set too high, it could overload the speakers. You know, if you're really going to go for it, give the guy a heads up, because he could bring the mic down. And even if you're screaming, it's not going to like blow patrons' ears out, because that might be what those patrons take away from the night. And it might put a bad reputation on that karaoke DJ at the same time.
Yeah. If you want to do that, find your metal friendly bar. Don't do it at your local Italian restaurant family place that also has karaoke on the weekends. Maybe just throwing that out there.
All right. Well, we're throwing back to you now. Track 7 on our PSAs and cliches.
And we're talking about just vocal stuff now, right? So I'm calling this one, I mean, it's great, but it's a cappella. And the reason I chose that is there's not a lot of songs that this plays into. I can think of the song The Scotsman, for one, which I'm sure some listeners are familiar with. But not enough people are familiar with it for me to make that my choice. So my choice for this is Mercedes-Benz by Janis Joplin. Again,
yes.
Great song, but is it karaoke if you are just singing and there's no accompaniment? I mean, karaoke means empty orchestra in Japanese, if you pronounce it correctly, which I do not. But that's what it means, and there is no orchestra playing to Mercedes-Benz.
There's the foot stomp. Is that?
I don't think that's in the karaoke track of it, but maybe it is. I might have to listen to it without a bar full of people to find out.
I'd be curious, because that's like that faint stomp that you hear on that live recording. That's the one thing that made it feel so real. It's in the distance. It doesn't sound mic'd up. It's just her tapping her foot, it sounds like. And it adds such a heft to that performance. But anyway, not talking about the song. Yeah, that's not something I've seen very often. So I'd almost be curious, because if you have the chutzpah to go up there and pick a song and sing it without musical accompaniment, chances are you could probably nail it.
My favorite is when I get tripped up when I forget that a song starts without anything, and I'm like, oh, it's just me for this little bit. Oh, no. Oh, no, because I don't want to hear me. You probably don't want to hear me. No one wants to hear me. I'm terrible.
I haven't seen you perform karaoke, but if your podcasting prowess is any indication, I am sure you're fantastic at it.
You flatterer.
But with that, I am going to follow up a cappella with a category I'd like to call, How High Are You? And hear me out. I don't actually mean the green high. I'm talking about the vocal range high. Because let's be honest, when you take a song like The Darkness, I Believe in a Thing Called Love, which is my pick, if you can't hit the vocal stratosphere the way Justin Hawkins does for The Darkness, 3 to 4 drinks in, even though you believe you can, chances are you can't. And I think this also goes for songs like More Than a Feeling by Boston, I'll Never Let You Go by Steelheart, or the Bee Gees' Staying Alive. Like, if you can't even falsetto in your car, it'll probably end up being a cringe performance if you try to pull it off. So think twice before getting too high at the karaoke bar.
But if you can pull it off, hats off to you. My bass baritone will not stretch to that. I have some friends who will do that song or Grace Kelly by Mika, and absolutely, you know how you always want something you can't have? I'm never going to hit that note. Like, I'm stretching to hit tenor.
I have one song for the karaoke home run side that might fall under this range be damned category. It just happens to be one that I can hit, but we'll get to that later. Coming out of The Darkness, I Believe in a Thing Called Love. How high are you? What do you got next?
So you're taking distance and going up with high. I'm taking distance and going out with length. And so this one that's like a 2-for-1, my guy. Karaoke should be egalitarian. Karaoke should be so everybody has a chance. When you do an 8-minute plus song, you're functionally taking a song out of the night, out of the rotation. And for that reason, American Pie by Don McLean at 8 minutes and 36 seconds. That's the length of 2 songs. That's the length of 4 punk rock songs if you think about it that way. But 8 minutes and 36 seconds of just you? Nah.
Yeah, I feel that. Now, I have one that falls under this category, but I'd like to phrase it to you as a question. Paradise by the Dashboard Light. You're getting 2 singers up there.
Mm-hmm.
Does that count as one song for each, or do you give that a pass?
So I very rarely host karaoke. I host karaoke in a pinch if somebody pays me enough and I have nothing else going on. I do not like herding drunks, which is what hosting karaoke turns into by 2 a.m. That said, I mean, like in my ideal world, that would count as a song for each singer and then sure, fair. But I will say this. The absolute best karaoke performance I've ever seen was that song. And it wasn't for like the best reasons. There was a guy at a bar in central Pennsylvania who went to every woman in the bar and asked to duet that song with him. And everyone said no. And he's still committed to doing it. But instead of singing both parts, maybe altering his voice for the female vocal, when it came to her vocal part, he just looked down at his feet real sad. And then picked it back up when it was Meatloaf again. And by the end of that, he won that bar over because he committed to the bit. Now, in all fairness, this is going back to how hard hip hop can be. I personally break this rule once a month or at least by doing Rapper's Delight by myself. But again, it goes back to I'm not looking at the screen. I'm going to make this a show. It has to be the right night, and I have to feel like it's acceptable for me to take up 8 karaoke minutes. But I try to make that as rare as possible. But yeah, like overall, like the goal is to not do songs that take up 2 spots in the rotation. But I mean, I'm a hypocrite. I do it every once in a while.
All right. Well, to close out side A, my last category is Hit You with an Irony Fist. And that is Tequila by the Champs. Yes, the song has one word for its entire lyrics. I'm sure the first person that ever came up with that idea to throw that into a karaoke night probably tore the roof off the place with laughter. Kind of like the first time somebody yelled out, "Play Freebird" at a cover band. Big laughs. The 6th and 700th time, not so much. One of my favorite jam bands, Mo, has a song that's 48 minutes long. It's a studio cut. It's called Meat. And over the course of 48 minutes, it's a progressive instrumental, wicked jam that they do. But they say the word meat twice over the entire length of the song. If you're going to commit to the bit, go full on Andy Kaufman and put in Mo's Meat for your karaoke jam and see how that one goes over. But yeah, this falls under the irony fist category.
You would think that after that one guy did that on America's Got Talent, that it would be played out.
Yeah.
But I guess it still happens.
And I think that one inspired more people to do it. I think it really made the joke mainstream. Like, I don't even know how more mainstream you could get at this point. Now, I will say this. If you go up there and do the song while doing the Pee Wee Herman dance from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, then it's an A+ performance. But if you just stand there waiting, it's not as funny.
Now, back in the day before that was like super ubiquitous, when I was in grad school, our one karaoke host, it killed me the first time I saw it. I mean, he did the bit a couple times, and I'm like, okay, we get it now. But when it was the top of the rotation, and he always sang to indicate the top of the rotation, he's like, all right, so I'm trying a new song. I've been practicing for weeks. I think I finally have it. Let me know how I did. I'm a little nervous, but like I'm ready to try. And then he did this song, and like we all thought it was hilarious. But then he did the same joke a couple more times. I'm like, we get it. Like we get it.
Well, there you have it, folks. Side A for our Karaoke 101 mixtape, PSAs and Clichés, which kicked off with If You Don't Worry, Someone Else Will, Picture by Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow. In the Yes We Know category, Afternoon Delight by the Starlight Vocal Band. In the Oh You Changed the Words category, Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler. In the Read the Room category, The Rodeo Song by Gary Lee and Showdown. If you do go back and listen to this playlist, remember, not safe for work. In the How Hard Can Hip Hop Be category, Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot. In the How Hard Can Metal Be category, Enter Sandman by Metallica. In the It's Great, but it's a cappella category, Mercedes-Benz by Janis Joplin. In the How High Are You category, I Believe in a Thing Called Love by The Darkness. In the That's Like a 2-for-1 category, American Pie by Don McLean. And Hit You With an Irony Fist category, Tequila by The Champs. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page.
This is what you do when you've just found that statement handbag on eBay and you want to build an entire wardrobe around it. You start selling to keep buying. Yep, on eBay. Over that all-black everything phase? List it and buy all the color. Feeling more vintage than ever? It's out with the new and in with the pre-loved. Next thing you know, you've refreshed your wardrobe basically without spending a dime. Yeah, eBay, the place to buy and sell new, pre-loved, vintage, and rare fashion.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least that was the plan. Except now the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want your connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
Now, Ed, before we flip things over and get to side B, why don't you tell people a little bit about Fawkes and Friends and what you guys have got going on the new show?
Great. Thanks, Brian. So obviously, some people might be more familiar with me from The Greatest Song Ever Sung Poorly, karaoke podcast my best friend and I did for a couple years. But we kind of put that on a semi-permanent hiatus because he's a grown-up with a job and a wife now and a kid on the way, whereas I'm somebody who still just goes to bars and punk shows all the time because I'm having my midlife crisis, and that's what I do with it. A friend of mine who goes professionally by the name of Black Guy Fawkes, if you're familiar with that name, you might have seen him open for Frank Turner at Lost Evenings last year, or seen him open for the Violent Femmes or for Dave House. He asked me, he's like, hey, I've been thinking about starting a podcast. Do you want to do a podcast with me? And I literally looked at him and I was like, are you asking me because I know where the podcast buttons are? And he goes, no, you're a really good friend, but yeah, you know where the podcast buttons are. So we talk to musicians and other creatives, mostly in the punk rock sphere, about creativity and social justice and like causes they care about and their songwriting process, and invariably their opinions on regional fast food. So, I mean, it's been a fun ride. I mean, I've got another chance to sit down with Frank Turner, Kaylee Goldsworthy, Micah Schnabel and Vanessa Jean Speckman, Cat Bite, like all these artists that I just absolutely adore and love. A Day Without Love. I'm going to, like, I'll leave somebody off by like saying it. Chuck Reagan. I mean, like the fact that like we get to talk to these people like is fun for me, just as like a semi-outsider who gets to just go along for the ride with my friend, the musician. You know, I get to tag along, and again, I get to hit buttons, so that's nice. But mostly it's a, it's a chance to pal around with my buddy as his career is like taking off, and you know, it's nice to see him be able to like promote shows and tours and things like that through the medium of podcasting and talking to other great musicians and, you know, some lesser known ones too. We're pretty indiscriminate with things like that. And it's if you're in that scene, you know, we love talking to you. It's always a fun conversation for us, which is really all he and I are looking for. So again, the name is Black Guy Fawkes. That's more important than the show itself. This music's available everywhere. You should listen. I'm a fan, but I'm biased.
And if people want to find the show, where can they do that?
It's on everything under Fawkes and Friends. The spelling there is important. Fawkes. It's Black Guy Fawkes, not Black Guy Fawkes like the animal, but Black Guy Fawkes like the gunpowder treason and plot.
Fantastic. Well, now we're going to flip things over and hit the record button on our karaoke home runs side of the playlist. And I am going to kick things off with this first pick. And big surprise, I'm going to go with my favorite artist of all time. And I'm going to go with a song that I think is one of his most beloved sing-alongs. Because when you think about Tom Petty and karaoke, a lot of songs come to mind. Mary Jane's Last Dance, Refugee, Here Comes My Girl, Learning to Fly, American Girl was probably one of the more popular ones. But the one I'm going to go with is the one that I think invites the biggest percentage of the room to join in on the sing-along, and that is I Won't Back Down. Because everybody is going to sing the hey, baby. Like that part, everyone's going to do it at the top of their lungs. It really brings the room together. It's a joyous song. It kind of brings a togetherness to the room. And, you know, sometimes you're at a karaoke night with your arm around some stranger, you know, drink in hand, singing along, having a good time, and you guys become a quote unquote community for that night. And this is one of those songs that I always have used throughout the years to get people to kind of join in the fun, if you call it that.
That's a great choice for that. Like if we were talking about the cliche stuff, like everybody does Free Falling or Mary Jane's Last Dance. I Won't Back Down though. That's a banger. That's a good one. So I will let everybody who listens to your podcast in on a secret. My secret to karaoke success is to give someone a dopamine rush, not by how well I sing, because let's face it, I don't do that well. But I like to give them a song they forgot they remembered, right? So you have that like recognition that, oh, I know this. And a lot of the songs that I've chosen for this side are going to be songs that fit that category, but people might be forgetting or might not remember that they know. And so for me, the first one that when people our age might forget that they know and like the song is Plowed by Sponge.
Oh, nice.
And I mean, I think one of the things that hinders that song at karaoke is that's not really the words that anyone thinks of when it comes to that song. If I say Plowed by Sponge, people might go, I don't, but they're like, in a world of human wreckage. Oh, no, I know that song. Like, yeah. So I'm kicking it off with Sponge and Plowed.
Coming out of Tom Petty musically, that actually works. I was expecting this side to almost unfold like a karaoke night where you'd go from just genre hopping like crazy. Because this is the one kind of episode where the musical flow of the mixtape really isn't the message here, because you're never going to go to a karaoke room where someone's going to sing a song and someone's going to be like, I'll follow that up with something in that genre. No, they're going to do what works best for their song pick. I love when people pull out Sponge, and I'll use that for both Plowed as well as Molly, which is 16 Candles Down the Drain. If people don't remember that song, Rotting Pinata was such a great album, man. And so was Wax Ecstatic for that point. But Plowed, my old cover band used to do. And anytime that people just light up. So yeah, I love that pick. And I think coming out of it, I'm going to stay with this kind of quasi 90s kind of vibe we got going here. And I'm going to bring in one that I have never personally performed. But anytime I've seen it performed, I knew that as soon as I heard the opening bass line in this song kick in with the drums, that there was no way somebody was going to put this song in and not be able to crush it. And that is Alana Miles' Black Velvet. You hear that, doom, 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 and then from that opening kind of vocal run, every time I've heard it done, I've gotten goosebumps because that song really demands a range. You need to be soft and sultry and yet be able to belt. If you're stuck in one side, you can't pull off the song, which is why it isn't done very often. But I guarantee you, if somebody puts it in, they can hit both sides of it. And every time I've seen this done, it's been knocked out of the park.
Unless it's me, because I have done that song.
You have done it. Okay.
I have done that song. My other secret is, if you want to surprise people, do a gender bend, but like do it honestly. Like when I do it, I don't try to sound like Alana Miles. I invariably sound like Johnny Cash had a couple too many drinks and tried to sing a different song. So I just change it to my vocal range. I don't ask them to adjust pitch or anything like that. I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna sing along with this where I can, which is, in a lower register. I'm going to kind of keep that going. Actually, it's funny. Our side B is turning out to be more cohesive than I expected it to. But again, people doing songs a lot. We covered Total Eclipse of the Heart the first time. I would proffer this as an alternative to Total Eclipse of the Heart that'll still hit that dopamine rush of people knowing that they know the song and just kind of forgetting about it. I don't hear it at karaoke very often. And that song is Kiss Me Deadly by Lita Ford.
Nice.
It's got that same power rock thing to it, but it's not as overdone as Total Eclipse of the Heart or some other songs like that. And the shock factor of hearing somebody really nail that, because that's a belty song, that's a borderline metal screamy song. If you can do that, why are you not doing that all the time? I'm envious. You should do that song.
One of my good friends from high school, Nikki, who sings with the band now, we started bringing in some more female oriented songs for her part of the set list. And at the end of the night, I got the band to practice at home because I just said, I got a feeling this will go over well. And everybody learned the parts. And just live in front of an entire audience at a winery, the last song of the night, we broke into Kiss Me Deadly acoustically with the piano instead of the synthesizer sounds. Place lost their friggin' mind because it was just heavy enough that people were quote unquote rocking at a winery, but it wasn't heavy because of the acoustic guitars. So it almost gave it this MTV Unplugged vibe. And it worked so damn well. The place lost their shit. And I could see this song going over huge in a karaoke bar. Well, I'm going to stick musically with this Lita Ford vibe because the one thing I know is if you have a good karaoke DJ, as he will try to pair a couple of songs together if they fit in a vibe, especially as you get towards the end of the night. And if we were at the end of the night and Kiss Me Deadly was played, and let's say you're in a regional bar to me, which is New Jersey, and there's a very good chance at some point of the night, whether you want to or not, you will hear one of the New Jersey state anthems, which is Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer. And there are some people from the state of New Jersey that will be vomiting right now that I even brought this song up. However, the woes in any karaoke bar in the country go over, and you don't have to sing along with it because the chorus, basically from the bridge on, we got to hold on to what everybody is singing along with that song. And if it's an acoustic, mellower night for karaoke, throw a real curveball, and if they have it, do the Prayer 94 slowed down acoustic version if you really want to throw people for a loop. We've done that one with Colburn and Company at the end of the night, and it almost causes the cell phone lighters in the air. So,
see, I need to come out for one of those Colburn and Company gigs at some point.
Yeah, dude, they're a lot of fun. We have so much fun because believe it or not, your approach to karaoke is our approach to song selection. We've gone to see other cover bands in the area. So we kind of wrote down a list of all the songs we saw everywhere. And we said, okay, we're not playing any of those. Let's dig deeper. So like one of our opening songs of the night is Counting Blue Cars by Dishwalla, which is one of those songs that always makes people raise their eyebrow and be like, wait a minute, I know this one.
Actually, Brian, that was the number one song I had on my playlist as choices for this side. So
Really?
I am going to make my next song Dishwalla's Counting Blue Cars, because I've been doing karaoke once a week for well over 15 years, and I can probably count on my hands how many times I've heard this song at karaoke. But I don't think it's anyone's favorite song, but so many people know it and have some vague fondness for it that it does hit that dopamine button. They're like, oh, I know this song. And I like, if that is your favorite song, I am sorry. I have just never encountered somebody who said, no, Counting Blue Cars, Dishwalla, that's my jam. I've never heard that, but it works for karaoke.
And I'll tell you, it works in a live acoustic setting, because when you start with that song, a lot of people kind of look around like you see this like, I know that riff. I know that riff. And even during the verse, they're going, why do I know this? How do I know this? And as soon as they get to the tell me all your thoughts on God, you see a bunch of people kind of go, like throw their arms up and go, that's it. And that's what we're going for with our whole set list. And I'm going to follow that up with a song that we do at the end of the night to get that same effect. After a 3-hour gig, my voice is usually starting to get shot, and trying to hit songs in the stratosphere becomes tougher and tougher. And I know that there's one at the end of the night that we always do. And that one does involve some stratospheric moments. So to give my voice a break in the middle of the second set, but keep people losing their minds, I go with Violent Femmes' Blister in the Sun. That opening acoustic guitar riff is punky, but it's a rock song, but it's got an indie vibe. It's just so many fun things all mixed into one. And it's one of those songs that for a person who's new to karaoke, you don't have to really hit it all that well, because that's kind of the beauty of it. It's meant to be quirky and a little uncomfortable in the delivery. So to me, this is a great starter song. You don't even necessarily have to sing it. You can almost talk it. When I'm walking, I strut my stuff. Like, that gets people smiling. It gets people singing along, especially the Let Me Go Wild in the chorus. Way to invite the room into the mix. And yeah, I'm getting a little bit of my punk edge out, but doing it in a way that it actually hits the dopamine button for two different generations. Because the people that grew up with the Violent Femmes in the 80s are not the same age as the people that discovered the song when Claire Danes danced around in My So-Called Life in the 90s, and the song became a hit from that show. So it's that dopamine button for two different generations as far as I'm concerned.
Let me state first off that I absolutely love the Violent Femmes. I mean, they're folk punk icons. My podcast partner opened for them in Connecticut on their 40th anniversary of that first album. So got to hear the entire first album back to back. But there was one night at karaoke where somebody told me, man, you sound just like Gordon Gano. And I'm like, I don't know that that's complimentary, but thank you. I actually had, as an alternative on the side to Blister in the Sun, Kiss Off, because it's nice. So fun. Enough people know it, but you don't hear it a lot. And I mean, like that great chant in the middle, like it's so much fun to do at karaoke, but it does get to that one screamy part, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But yeah, no, I mean, that's a absolutely great choice. And now I'm trying to decide which of these songs would follow that best. And I'm going to actually go with like what I have always said the song is the most underrated song of the grunge era. And the grunge era always tends to go over really well at karaoke, mainly because a lot of people at karaoke bars are in their late 30s to early 50s. So, I mean, it hits that sweet spot. And one of the things to remember is like Brian and I are both guys. Like typically you'd expect us to pick a lot of guy songs. So I want to make a concerted effort to have more female vocals. So we're talking grunge, we're talking female vocals. We're talking Cannonball by the Breeders.
Nice.
What an underrated song. And that's another one that starts off with that opening that's like so iconic. That like, I love that song, and I'm happy I got to include it on this list. I've done that one before too.
I've played Cannonball on bass with a band before, but I have never sang it. That is such a great one. The song that I had in that category was the Cranberries' Zombie, because obviously the song was huge in the 90s. So you still had the female population. When I was going to a lot of karaoke bars in the late 90s, early 2000s, that song got played a lot. But then with Bad Wolf's cover, it got a resurgence. And we were on stage one night on a night that our female singer didn't show up because she had another gig previously scheduled. So it was just a trio. And that song got requested. And I'm pausing and I'm tapping my forehead, and the keyboard player's looking at me, and he goes, "You know, it's a 4-chord Charlie, right?" I said, "Yeah, I know the song." And the drummer goes, "I could do it." And they looked at me, and I turned to the crowd and said, "Look, we'll do it under one condition. Every single one of you need to sing the chorus because I can't hit the entire chorus." And let me tell you, I did all the verses, and when he hit the chorus, everyone sang so loud, I just got to back up off the mic and let them take it, and it was one of those feel-good moments. The Breeders, on the flip of that, is one of those songs that people are up dancing the whole time.
So your final pick is Zombie by the Cranberries.
Well, yeah, after all of that spiel about the Cranberries, I'm actually not going to go with that.
Cranberries get an honorable mention. Woo!
Sorry about that, but for my last pick of the night, I had a song kind of earmarked for this spot because I did a sing-along with Tom Petty's I Won't Back Down. It's a song Colburn and Company does. And so is my last pick of the night. And again, this is a song that's seen a resurgence in the last decade. So you get the 80s crowd that gets the dopamine hit. You get the 2020s crowd that get the dopamine hit. And everybody sings along at the same time with the high notes, which gives my life, makes it a little bit easier. And that is Toto's Africa or Weezer's Africa, depending on which version you go with. Having to hit those high notes at the end of the night, falsetto or not, after you've been singing for 3 hours is not an easy feat. And there are some nights where I do the Vince Neil and I point the mic to the crowd because I know that if I try to hit it, it's going to ruin all the hard work we put in for the last 3 hours. But in karaoke, it's one of those ones that you could falsetto it. You could sing it however you want. You could go an octave lower and people are still going to be going nuts. So my last pick of the night is Toto's Africa.
You know, I'm happy that you went with a song that some people might even call like a karaoke cliche because it is that good of a karaoke song. And you're right. Like no matter what, you can't miss with that. The only Toto song I've ever done karaoke is Rosanna. But nice. I have to tag somebody in to do the higher parts because I can't do it, but I'll do the lower parts. So, I mean, this is the last song of the mixtape, Brian.
Yeah.
This is a big honor and this is a big responsibility. And again,
no pressure.
I used to have a karaoke podcast. I literally have the word karaoke tattooed on my knuckles at this point in my life, man.
Yes.
So I have to, like, all eyes are on me for this choice. This is a lot of pressure. You know, I could go with a deep cut. Like, I could go with something that hits that dopamine pop. I could, you know, there's so many songs I could go with, but I'm just going to go with the best karaoke song of all time. Possibly the best song of all time. It's possible. I'm not sure. I don't know how you would qualify that. I am not a musician. I don't know. But I have never failed to see this song get a good response, whether somebody sang it well, whether they sang it poorly, whether they sang it in the original key, or if they sang it the way that I would. And that song, my friend, is ABBA, Dancing Queen.
Nice.
Possibly the best pop song of all time. I'll stand by that. That is just, I see 21-year-olds in my college town sing that. I see 78-year-olds in Florida sing that. No matter what, it goes over well, whether they sing it well or whether they sing it like me, which is not so good.
I mean, when you're talking about one of the biggest bands ever in the history of recorded music, I mean, for popularity, album sales, all of it, what a great pick. And it's something that, again, gets everybody in the room singing along. And it, because of the movie again, jumping generations. So you're getting multiple generations to sing along. So even those outside of our demographic have been exposed to this song and are into this song. And again, it invites that sing along that's kind of been woven in and out of our incredible Karaoke Home Runs Side B, which kicked off with Tom Petty's I Won't Back Down, Sponge Plowed, Alana Miles' Black Velvet, Lita Ford's Kiss Me Deadly, Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer, Dishwalla's Counting Blue Cars, Violent Femmes' Blister in the Sun, The Breeders' Cannonball, Toto's Africa, and ABBA's Dancing Queen. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. Well, Ed, why don't you remind people once again where they can find Fawkes and Friends and maybe what you guys got coming up in the coming months at the show.
The show is called Fawkes and Friends. Again, it's Fawkes, as in Guy Fawkes, not Fox the animal, although we've had some hilarious misspellings of it over the years. The best thing to do is just to follow Black Guy Fawkes on social media, because the show is a part of his creative endeavor. So the podcast itself doesn't have its own website. It's all Black Guy Fawkes. I'm just my job is filling the middle-aged white guy quota for the podcast. And that's what I do. That's what I bring to the table. I'm a man in my 40s with no hair.
Well, you did that job tonight very well, Ed. Thank you so much for joining me again on My Weekly Mixtape. Let's make this not another 70 episodes before we get you back on again.
I'm sure we can find a theme.
And remember, mixtapers, you can find My Weekly Mixtape on almost all the social media haunts at My Weekly Mixtape. You can also head to myweeklymixtape.com to check out the full catalog of My Weekly Mixtape episodes. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. There you can enjoy ad-free episodes of the show, chime in on upcoming topics, become a future guest, and so much more. That's all for this week. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, enjoy the tunes.
The Jeremiah Show is proudly featured on Pantheon Podcasts. Don't miss an exciting episode of The Jeremiah Show. You're invited to the world of pop culture, music icons, and food gods. Find Jeremiah at thejeremiahshow.com or on all social networks and back catalogs at Linktree, Jeremiah D. Higgins.
I am Miles Zuniga from Fastball.
And we are Girl Named Tom.
Hi, I'm Marielle Hemingway.
Hi, this is Chef Melissa King from Top Chef All Stars.
Hi there, everybody. This is Ann H.
Hi, I'm Shadow Stevens. I'm having a great time on The Jeremiah Show, the greatest show in the history of the world.
The Jeremiah Show is brought to you by Evolve Entertainment Network, Pantheon Podcasts, and Radio Candy Media.
I do hope you enjoyed that interview. I'm sorry that Jeremiah is so hopeless. I did made a real effort to sort of get through the sludge and the drudgery and the cliches and the second-rate ideas. I hope I didn't disappoint you too much. And as far as Jeremiah is concerned, do write in, because if you do, we can do something about this.